Hello, welcome to the Mother Tongue podcast. I'm here today with Jocelyn Gordon, who is the founder of HoopYogini,
Mm,
and she has been called a yoga rebel by Yoga Journal magazine. Jocelyn is the creator of HoopYogini and Bhakti Boogie Yoga, which
mhm,
are holistic fitness practices merging dance and yoga and meditation. She has toured nationally with Wanderlust, is a six-time presenter at the Bali Spirit Festival. She has worked with Academy Award-winning actress Halle Berry and Marissa Tomei,
mhm.
and was recently featured on Apple News as the meditation guide for the Essence Magazine Virtual Wellness House. She is the mother of two young queens and an advocate for peaceful birth, maternal, and infant well-being. Jocelyn supports birthing people in upleveling their health and vibration before pregnancy. As the course doula, Jocelyn coaches healers and movement educators to create their first online course and teacher training programs. And her work ultimately is about supporting women with fertility, embodiment, and leadership. Welcome,
Yeah,
Jocelyn.
thank you. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for the
Yeah.
invitation.
Thank you. Yeah, so I met Jocelyn, kind of virtually met Jocelyn recently at a conference that we both spoke at, the Birth Emergence Conference. And when I heard her speak, I knew I wanted to interview her for the podcast.
Oh,
So I always love to start with hearing people's origin story as a mother, kind of their journey of matrescence, because often that leads into like what your work is today. And so I'll just
I love
ask you
that
to start
question.
there.
And I totally vibed with you too, because I was like, PowerPoints, like we had slides.
Right, that's true.
I was like, yeah, my girl. Okay. Um, motherhood has been a theme my entire life. When I was very young, I had an awareness experience somewhere between the ages of 3 and 5. I was in my grandmother's home on the second floor in the bathroom that my mom and my aunt shared, and it was essentially like the guest family bathroom outside of the master. And I was looking at myself in the mirror, as we do from time to time, especially as kids, having a little meditation, I guess. And also behind me on the shower sliding door was a mirror, very common. And then to the right of me was the medicine cabinet with the mirror. So I started playing with the medicine cabinet, which was a lot of fun. And at one point, like I saw like these multiplicities of myself in the space that I was in. So like if you can imagine all the reflection points at the same time, and it was like this infinite kind of thing. And in that moment, not having the words to understand what I saw, felt, and knew, I saw, felt, and knew the like core pain pattern in my mother line, and it showed up as betrayal. And it was came up vibrationally in the tension that I experienced with my mom, in the tension that I observed with her mom, in the tension that I observed between my mom, my grandmother, my great grandmother, who was alive at the time. And then because of the impact of that mirror, I could see like this kind of psycho-spiritual epigenetic betrayal pattern. And at the same time, this knowing, hearing, seeing that it ended with me. So I would say that's like a pivotal
Wow.
moment. And as I go forward and look back, being the mom of two, like I said, young queens, or like you said, ages 9 and 24, especially with the 24-year-old, my true essence. Well, we'll go back, but my most obvious entrance into matrescence, it was like, I made a lot of mistakes, or there were like errors. And so I looked back from time to time, and it's like, well, the forgiveness dynamic, because I had this profound experience and have had a lot, and I still have a lot of love in my family and my mother line. However, I really didn't have any role models or any context how I was going to achieve this great disruption dynamic. So, naturally, I'm gonna like fumble along the way. And my daughter, born under the sign of Capricorn, is just really good at telling me about my fumbles. And we've had some really good conversations. And the achievement is we have a very authentic, respectful relationship. Like, yes, I am mom. However, and yeah, there's a wisdom dynamic, but on a soul level, and especially achieving this with the relationship I have with the 9-year-old, it's like we're souls on a journey, and here we are. And I happen to be born first, and she happened to be born here, and the baby happened to be born there. And we're in this like interesting dance with our lineage, and it allows us to have a relationship that I didn't have with my mom up until recently, and one that I don't think was in our mother lineage for quite a few generations. So, um, it all kind of works out, I guess. We fall down and we get up.
Hmm.
In terms of like conception, I did get my first conception was I was 18. I got pregnant. The timing, quote unquote, wasn't right. Didn't really have the, people around me again to maybe say, oh, we could do something different. At the time, what felt right for me was an abortion. And I say what felt right for me at that time. And also there's some like sorrow around that because I know that child was a boy child. I know that, son. Um, uh, I know that he's there. I know he's part of our family constellation. And sometimes I'll like forget and then I'll get like hit with this like full whammy. Oh my gosh, this soul that couldn't come through at this time and what the impacts of that. So that I would say was my entrance into matrescence. But
Hmm.
in terms of like the family public celebratory kind of and growth and womb and all that and birth initiation, that was with Jordan, my first love, who is 24. And she was conceived in New York City in Brooklyn, um, in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, back in the day when Brooklyn was so cool. And then she was back in those early 2000s. And she was born at Methodist Hospital. And I was in massage school at that time, and I'd always been like earthy, crunchy, natural. Um, she was born you know, as much in that paradigm as I could offer her at that time, especially with her dad, who like we just kind of had he wasn't comfortable with the home birth that felt really dangerous to him. So Jordan was born in a Methodist hospital in a birthing center. I was blessed to have like a doula, a midwife, and a hypnobirthing coach. And if
Mm.
you weren't Joan, the hypnobirthing coach, don't talk to me. I have nothing for you. And that was super profound and awesome. We know a lot more about like physiological birth now. However, at that time, I guess the birth and environment was so peaceful and so quiet and so Om Shanti Shanti that they had medical doctors and interns observing from time to time. Fortunately, consciously, because of that hypnobirthing and Joan, I had, I didn't know. So
You're
that was
oblivious.
good. I was
Yeah.
oblivious to all that. But, in reflection, I'm like, ill. But so and I remember after giving birth with Jordan in the hospital, I remember this huge adrenaline rush. It was like an 8 hour, delivery process and like all the excitement and joy. And then I was like, I want a chocolate frappuccino from Starbucks. And of course, the new mother gets whatever she wants. So, but like I don't think I slept for like 3 or 4 days because like that caffeine hit along with all the other hormones that were
Yeah.
activated, and like that if I don't stare at her, like she might die.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, I don't think I slept for 3 or 4 days. So,
Wow.
but I think it's sweet that the folks wanted to give me what I wanted at that time. Um, and then the baby one, the little one, the wee one, around the time Jordan was 5, and I was like super involved in all my healing art activations, as a yoga therapist, as a dance therapist, as a after school yoga teacher to kids ages 4 to 7. And I was the director of teacher training for a holistic fitness company. I was meditating all the time. I was giving massages, getting up in the morning early. I had a really good sadhana, as you can have when you maybe don't have children or you just have one. Um,
Yeah.
And I started to feel, again, this clear knowing that there was another being coming in. And I was married at the time to a really lovely man. However, it became kind of more prevalent that this really lovely man was probably not the father of this child. And
Mm,
the conviction in this being coming through was greater than my conviction in the marriage, for better or worse. We consciously uncoupled, moved on, so to speak. There's still obviously grief around that. However, this awareness through my practices and being attuned to subtle energy, I just kept becoming more and more aware. So started talking to my mom about it, my friends. I was like, there's another one coming. I don't know when, but this one's coming. And long story short, after the divorce, Jordan and I moved to Big Sur, California. We landed on a mountaintop overlooking those iconic mountains off of Pfeiffer Ridge Road with the holes, the little keyhole lights in them. And from our bedroom, it was a V, so it was like a vagina. I could see that all the time. And in that time, I was really given the space to write a modality that I had been teaching without fully knowing what it was. And that became HoopYogini, which is the fitness practice combining hula hooping yoga and mindfulness meditation. That was all came through on that mountain. I was also working at the Esalen Institute where I'm a faculty member and had the opportunity to kind of workshop it there, which I'm grateful for that experience. The likes of Gabrielle
hmm
Roth and Ida Rolf and Anna Halprin have had that space as a soup for their consciousness modalities. Um, and I was also teaching in Bali for every year for quite a few years, teacher trainings, Bali Spirit Festival, etc. So there came a point on that mountain after writing the curriculum for Hoop Yogini, which was kind of a preparation template for the kind of lifestyle knew I wanted to be able to live and provide both my children, which was to have more freedom, more time freedom, etc. I knew that I would meet Sienna's dad in Bali. So you're getting a long story here. I'm trying to, we
Love
moved to
it.
Bali. Jordan was 13. We were on the plane from Bali to Bali when she was turning 13, so it was in January. It also coincided to like a pretty intense fire. We were able to stay in the community for a little bit to help the community in Big Sur, and that was really precious to see everyone rally together as they've done before and as they continue to do.
Yeah.
And we moved to Bali. And 3 months later, I met Sienna's dad, who had moved there from New Zealand to work on a sound healing project and to create a masterpiece, i.e., a family. And I realized
Is
that,
that what he said? Is that what
yeah,
he was looking? Yeah. Wow.
seriously. Yeah,
That's amazing.
legitimately, that happened. And so I realized I had been in about a 10-year preconception journey with Sienna, cultivating that relationship on a subtle level. And then her dad and I kind of courted for like 9 months, so to speak, and we spent some time apart for about 3 months. And then we did a year-long, more physical preconception preparation, and ended up conceiving actually 3 months before our trying to conceive window. And that's significant because I was 41 at the time, or about 40, 41. And it was significant in terms of the paradigm of that being, geriatric pregnancy,
Geriatric,
but
right?
not really. I mean, so I'm healthy, vital, you know,
Yeah.
youthful, etc. So
I had my second was I was 40 and my third I was 42. So,
there you go. Just natural
yeah.
business.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Yeah, and between teaching in Bali and living there, I volunteered at the Bumi Sahat Midwifery Clinic and got to have all my prenatal care there and work with Ibu Robin and other midwives and be in that energy. And so in 2026, got downloads of a whole preconception preparation, conscious conception wheel, and I offer conscious conception coaching along with the embodiment. So that's my matrescence
Mm,
story, I guess. My life
yes.
story almost up to this
Uh,
point.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. It's a powerful, beautiful story, and
Yeah.
I'm just amazed by your early experience as like a 3-year-old with your lineage. I mean, that's something I feel like has become more and more a part of the like healing conversation, this like idea of changing the legacy of your lineage and
Yeah,
doing that kind of healing work, but to have a somatic sort of experience of that at such a young age is really amazing, really powerful.
yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the beginning of my matrescence story, but the mother
Yeah, it could
awareness
be.
has been there for a long time. And I
Yeah.
want to add that my mom and I had a very rocky road. And however, we finally got to a point that we were both at the same time willing to do family therapy together. And that was about a year and a half ago. And it's freaking amazing. And I wish and pray for that, for anyone who's open to it and to not
Wow.
give up hope. So,
Thank you for sharing that. That's inspiring. I feel like I have definitely have a different relationship with my daughters than my mother had with me. It's a
yeah,
lot more a less hierarchical
yes,
and yeah, and that's something that that's still there's still stuff between me and my mother, so
of course.
that's great to hear. It's great to hear that you've seen a difference just in a fairly short amount of time, once you guys were both ready to work on it together. So
Yeah.
what, I mean, what inspired your journey into in what you call embodied mothering? And maybe you can
Yeah.
explain what you mean by that, embodied mothering and dance together. How do you bring those two things together?
Yeah. I kind of feel like similar to the mother lineage pattern is like it is all part of the plan, I guess. There wasn't like less me and more path that I guess surrendered to. Around the age of 5, my mom put me in ballet, tap, jazz, that kind of thing. And then my grandmother had a reflexologist named Bernice. And Bernice would come over, and when I was visiting, I would sit next to Bernice because Bernice had a little stool that she put on the floor, and my grandmother would sit on the couch, have her bad feet rubbed. And so, in that time, like Bernice noticed my interest, and then she started teaching me. I didn't realize this until I was an adult that that was an apprenticeship because I learned from her for about 5 years. And
Mm.
so there we have that massage kind of touch component enter the storyline, as well as the dance being anchored in. And so we have the kind of clear knowing kind of meditation aspect, movement and massage, kind of weaving in along the mother line and showing up at a certain point, like from massage school, going into like prenatal yoga teaching and helping mothers with avoid chemical induction through working on those contraindicated points through reflexology and acupressure and all of that. And really just spending a lot of time in the somatic soup. Gotta write that down, somatic soup. Um,
I like that.
and getting more into the subtle to get more clear of like the messages in the body to have more sovereignty over, well, this is what my lineage presented, but it's clear that I'm a lineage disruptor, as most of us are in this realm. And this is the internal compass that I'm choosing to be courageous in following. So those many practices, just really, yeah, developing the orientation to that inner compass and the courage to take those steps and stances forward. in how I wanted to create my life. And so supporting mothers in that too. And in particular with the conscious conception work as it comes along the lines of infertility, it's been the embodiment work that's really turned the dial for my clients in that,
Mm,
you know, at the point of on the infertility spectrum when they come to me thus far, they've tried everything. They're very good students. You know, they're very good box checkers. They're generally type A, et cetera, et cetera. They sometimes have had multiple IVFs, or maybe if we're lucky to connect, can catch them right before a cycle. Um, and it's the embodied aspect of what I call looking under the hood. Of course, getting them out of their heads into their bodies, which we know birth, kind of in a pre-birth consciousness, does so well. That helps to identify the dissonance on the psycho-spiritual levels that are contributing to a fertility delay. So maybe that answered your question. That's what's shown to help in the preconception realm as we dream our motherhood journey and our family
yeah.
lifestyle vision. And then as we walk the path to have like real faith and courage to honor our inner knowing.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. I think that makes so much sense that like working on the somatic aspects, you would see a breakthrough because I think so much of infertility, I mean, there's so many factors, but like a lot has to do, I think, with stress.
Yeah.
And I personally, I had a miscarriage about almost a year before I conceived my second daughter.
Hmm.
And I just, after I had the miscarriage, I just kind of was like, well, I'll just get pregnant again, and that's going to be my healing. And then it took like almost a year, and every cycle was like this roller coaster of emotions, and it was also like I was using the ovulation thing, and it was like, okay, now, and just totally like mechanical. And then I realized like I needed to make space. If I was going to have another baby, I needed to make space. And so I had a contract job with the health department that I quit where I was abstracting cases of fetal death. So it was like,
Oh
okay, yeah,
gosh, that's
let me
stressful.
get let me get rid of that. And I
Cortisol
had like
inducing.
a yes. And then I had like a couple weeks where I was off call and I got pregnant like just as soon as I made those changes and
Yeah.
yeah, and so I think working, I mean, pregnancy and birth and motherhood are deeply somatic. So it would make sense that working it on that level,
Yeah.
just for the conception part, kind of getting out of the head and into the body would be effective.
Yeah, the continuum. And I love how you said make space because my 1 year preconception preparation program is called Make Space for Baby.
And
So,
nice, nice.
so
Yes,
yeah, I think space is like the primary kind of element for creativity anyway.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
And in your experience, how does dance help mothers tune into their bodily sensations and intuition,
Oh,
especially during this matrescence period?
yes. I dance can bring you into the flow state. And flow state can bring you into ecstasy, revelation, epiphany, that kind of thing. So again, along the get out of your head and into your body, not just from like even intellectualizing that. There's a process I call activating grace, which is essentially creating the container for space, listening, and flow awareness that takes you into that space of embodied knowing and kind of like that clear cognizant space. um, and that comes with all kinds of hormone releases, and those hormone releases that contribute to like epiphany and aha. You know, I don't know all about it. I haven't mapped them all out exactly from the neuroscience perspective, but you know, I'm presuming it's serotonin, endorphins, and oxytocin, and a bit of dopamine. Maybe, you
Yeah,
know, probably all of them in just the right concoction. Oh, the
right.
what's the one that we get with the chocolate? Anandamide, that kind of thing. You know, just the right cocktail hormonally at the right time in you bringing those feelings and that embodied awareness together. Like it's gonna be okay. My body knows what to do. I'm supported by this body that already epigenetically knows and like the lineage behind me and that what I'll pass forward, the lineage will ahead of me will also possess. So it's like joy and confidence inducing. And in
Mm,
the preconception space, I really encourage my clients, especially when they can be really worried, to really make investments in those activities that are going to induce those feel-good hormones because it's that hormonal essence, that reproductive goo that we want sperm and ovum to meet in that maybe higher vibration or higher
yeah.
hormonal vibration. And it's that same component that leads to a more physiologically normal normal birth. I'll have to
Yeah.
answer that again. I'll have bullet points and an elevator pitch. That's what my feminine brain is
Ah,
coming up with.
I love it. I talk to my clients a lot about doing oxytocin inducing activities during pregnancy, anything that brings them joy, but like,
Exactly.
eating chocolate, making love, listening to music, getting a massage, warm bath,
Nipple
that
stimulation, if
nipple
that's your thing.
stimulation. Yeah. I went to this conference in Hawaii like in 2012. It was called the Birth and Primal Health Conference.
Ooh.
And there was somebody who spoke that, or no, I guess it was Michelle Odent was there, and he was talking about the weakening of the oxytocin system because of the overuse of induction and C-section, that he had this theory that like births were getting longer and harder for modern people because of this. And so after that, I started talking to my clients about doing these things to like prime the oxytocin pump during
I
pregnancy.
love that.
Yeah. Plus, when we're happy, our baby feels all those good hormones too. So it's a
Yes.
win-win.
I love that. And that goes back to like being in the hospital, which sometimes needs to happen for some families.
Hmm.
However, if you are in that space, especially as like a doula or birth worker, keeper, whatever we can do to maintain beauty, bring in the senses and the sensuous, and being
Yeah.
creative in that realm is helpful because otherwise the environment is pretty subconsciously or consciously stress inducing.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure. Environment is a big part of it, right?
Set and setting because it is a psychedelic experience, as Wapio
Yes, it
reminded
is.
us.
Yes, it is. How does your Hoop Yogini practice embody feminine principles and support
Oh.
mothers on their journey?
Because we work with the circle
Ugh,
and the spiral energy. So women just are naturally, I mean, we have curves in our bodies. And so working with the circle representing like the medicine wheel that we walk, the spiral as we move the hoop up and down our bodies or spin with it, as you know, getting into that vortex energy again in like reconnects us with our inner knowing connected to the divine knowing of
yeah.
however we want to call that, however you call that. So yeah, and the body loves the hips like to move. The hips don't lie. So also with hooping and hoop yogini, I teach from a systemic benefit perspective. So yeah, we're learning tricks, we're having fun and all that. However, like when we can really focus on like the hoop massaging the womb or the waist
Mm,
or the breast or the hands or under the armpits and supporting our circulatory system and just getting aware of the subtle, especially how hoop yogini is presented, because we go from like the Anamaya Kosha, that physical, dense, gross body that the yogic ones talk about as like the first sheath, and that sheath unfolds like an onion all the way to the Atma and the soul. And so we go from that physical, grounded mountain pose awareness to a more expanded, like flower of life, Venn diagram awareness of like interconnection through the journey. And that's also a journey I think we go through in the birthing process. So
absolutely. Wow, it's beautiful. I think it's so important. in pregnancy, for mothers to have these kinds of embodiment practices, not only because they're going to help you in the process of birth, but also because we live in this world that is so head focused and so information
Yeah.
focused that it becomes really hard for mothers to tap into their own intuition and their own like mama essence and yeah, anything that we can do to really come back to ourselves in that embodied way is going to be helpful in our journey of matrescence.
Yes, I agree. Remembering.
Remembering, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we do have to close, but I see here that you are leading a retreat called Sacred
Mm.
Rhythms. Do you want to share a little bit about that and where people can find you and your work?
Yeah, thank you. So, Sacred Rhythms of Feminine Reawakening is a retreat January 15th through 22nd, 2026 in Tulum, Mexico, right on the at Tulum Beach, where it meets the Caribbean Sea. And it really is all about cultivating energy and essence from that understanding that, the world tries to fix us into straight lines and right angles. And there's a lot of grief happening in the world, probably always has, but more amplified because of social media and the times that we're living in right now. And then we also have the cycles of grief and joy and gratitude that happen in our natural walk, whether that's through like shifting careers or children coming or children going, empty nest or perimenopause to menopause. There's, yeah, just natural cycles that if we don't have, you know, where it benefits us to have specific places, sets and settings, and people and support to be able to connect with, express, and release the tension around all that. So, Sacred Rhythms is about, a woman reconnecting with her curves, her spiral, her cyclical nature through dance, rest, coaching, ceremony, adventure, and stillness in a fabulous location that is very activated with a lot of ancient wisdom. And in particular, in Mexico, I learned more and more how matrilineal the society is and their cosmology is. Included in the retreat is a temazcal. And for those who have been in sweat lodge, we're reminded that the sweat represents the womb and the different cycles we go through represents that medicine wheel and the relationships that we have with our ancestors of all types. So we're going to have lots of wonderful ceremony and self-care practices, and there will be dancing, and there will be time for shopping because there's some nice shopping. And
Nice.
yes, having your food and your needs provided for so you can reconnect to that sacred rhythm and that inner compass. It's going to be awesome.
Sweet. It
Yeah,
sounds lovely.
I'm very
Where can
excited.
people sign up?
They can go to my website, jocelyn.gordon.com, and can reach out to me through Instagram as well. I'm an IG person at Jocelyn Gordon 1. And then in the new year, or as we approach the new year, I'm opening the portal for Make Space for Baby, which is that 1 year preconception preparation journey.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank you so
sharing with
much.
us today.
I'm happy to be here.